The WNBA All-Star votes are in, and the internet is absolutely on fire right now. Caitlin Clark, the most talked about player in women's basketball, the player who is single-handedly selling out arenas across the entire country, the player who just broke a WNBA record that nobody has ever broken before, is sitting at number 5 in the All-Star voting. Number 5. Behind players who are not even close to generating the kind of attention, the kind of revenue, and the kind of cultural impact that Clark brings to this league every single night. And Fever fans are not just upset. They are furious. They are calling it rigged. They are calling it a fix. And honestly, when you look at the numbers, it is very hard to argue with them, because something does not add up here. Something is seriously wrong with this picture. And today on Court Current, we are breaking down exactly what is happening, why it is happening, and what it means for Caitlin Clark and the future of this league. And now let us talk about what Clark has actually been doing on that court while all of this voting drama is playing out, because the timing of this All-Star snub could not be more insulting. Right now, as we speak, Caitlin Clark is in the middle of the most dominant stretch of her entire WNBA career. She just became the first player in the entire history of the WNBA to score at least 20 points and dish out at least 5 assists in 6 consecutive games. 6 consecutive games. That is not just impressive, that is historic. Nobody has ever done that before in this league. Not A'ja Wilson, not Diana Taurasi, not Brianna Stewart, nobody. Clark is averaging 21.3 points, 8.2 assists and 4.3 rebounds this season. Those are MVP level numbers. Those are numbers that should have her sitting at the top of every single list in this league. Instead, she is sitting at number 5 in All-Star voting. And Fever fans across the country are asking one very simple question. How is that even possible? The buzz around this voting situation has completely taken over social media, and the reactions from Clark's fan base have been absolutely explosive. Fans are calling it rigged. Fans are saying the votes are being manipulated. One supporter said there is no way Caitlin is number 5. Another fan wrote, "Wow, this looks rigged. Ain't no way CC is number 5. And another went even further, saying they are rigging everything, bots are involved, and fans have to get on voting right now. And here is the thing. These are not just casual fans overreacting. These are people who have been watching every single game, who have been voting consistently, and who know exactly what Clark has been doing on that court every single night. When your most dedicated fan base starts using words like rigged and fixed, that is not something you can just brush off. That is a signal that something is deeply wrong with how this process is being managed. Now let us break down the actual voting numbers, because this is where it gets really interesting. A'ja Wilson leads with 308,249 votes. Paige Buchers is second with 298,027 votes. And then Aaliyah Boston sits third with 282,186 votes. Let that sink in for a second. Aaliyah Boston, Clark's own teammate on the Indiana Fever, has more All-Star votes than Clark right now. Kelsey Mitchell is 10th with 170,125 votes. And Clark is 5th with 253,602 votes. Now think about that for a second. Clark is the player whose games are consistently the most watched in the entire WNBA. Clark is the player whose jersey is the best selling in the league. Clark is the player who finished first in All-Star fan voting in each of the last 2 seasons. And now suddenly in 2026, she cannot crack the top 3? The math is simply not mathing here, and Fever fans are right to be asking serious questions about what is actually going on behind the scenes. But here is what makes this situation even more complicated and even more frustrating for Clark supporters. The voting does not end with the fans. Fan votes only account for 50% of the total tally. Players vote for 25%, and media votes for the remaining 25%. And if you have been paying attention to how some players and media members have been treating Clark since she entered this league, you already know what that means. There is a segment of this league that has never fully embraced Clark. There are players who have made it very clear through their actions and their words that they see Clark as an outsider, as someone who is getting too much attention, as someone who needs to be brought down a notch. And if those same players and those same media members are the ones voting for 50% of the All-Star selections, then the question of whether this process is truly fair becomes very real and very serious. The league needs to answer that question, and it needs to answer it right now. What makes Caitlin Clark's situation truly unique and truly unfair is the standard being applied to her compared to every other player in this league. When A'ja Wilson dominates, she gets celebrated. When Paige Bueckers puts up big numbers, the media trips over themselves to praise her. But when Clark breaks a record that nobody in the history of the WNBA has ever broken, when Clark puts up 32 points and 10 assists in a single game, when Clark carries the Indiana Fever on her back night after night, somehow she is still not worthy of being in the top 3 of All-Star voting. That double standard is real. That double standard is visible. And more people outside of just Clark's fan base are starting to see it and call it out. The good news is that voting is still open until June 27th. That means Clark fans still have time to change this. That means there is still a chance for the right outcome here. But the damage to the credibility of this voting process has already been done, and the WNBA needs to take a long, hard look at how this happened. So what does all of this mean for Caitlin Clark and for the Indiana Fever going forward? It means that Clark is operating in a league that is still figuring out how to handle the phenomenon that she has become. It means that the politics and the personalities of the WNBA are very real and very complicated. But here is what it also means. Every time Clark gets snubbed, every time the votes look suspicious, every time the double standard becomes impossible to ignore, her fan base gets louder, her support gets stronger, and more people tune in to watch her prove everyone wrong on that court. Clark does not need the All-Star validation to know how good she is. Her record-breaking numbers speak for themselves. Her sold-out arenas speak for themselves. And when that All-Star game tips off in Chicago on July 25th, whether Clark is starting or not, the whole world will be watching to see what she does. Because that is just the kind of player she is. That is just the kind of moment she was built for. Do not forget to smash that like button. Subscribe to Court Current for the most in-depth WNBA analysis on the platform, and turn on those notifications so you never miss a breakdown. The drama is real, the stakes are high, and we are here covering every single second of it. Until next time, keep watching the game, keep supporting the league, and stay locked in. This is Court Current signing off.